Welcome to Camera Ready and Able, the podcast that explores the intersection of media change and personal growth. I'm your host, Barbara Barna Abel, and my calling is to help you tap into your superpowers to thrive on camera and in life, and to make an impact on the world. This episode is brought to you by the phrase, why everyone should take a commercial acting class. I encourage all of my clients and students all the time to study commercial acting along with comedy improv. And here to discuss our legendary commercial casting directors and teachers, Brooke and Mary, who are collectively known as Brooke and Mary. Brooke Thomas was originally drawn into the world of casting at Liz Lewis Casting Partners and then House Casting before recognizing a need for more personalized casting services that leveraged her experience and vast network of actor connections and formed Brooke Thomas Casting in 2012. Mary Egan Callahan, a co-owner of House Casting New York, also began her career at Liz Lewis Casting Partners before joining House in 2004 and taking over ownership with partner Neil Meyer in 2019. Collectively and individually, reading their list of casting credits would take up the entire episode. So I'm going to focus instead on the word of mouth, always sold out, award-winning commercial class Brooke and Mary have been teaching for years. Again, their full list of alumni could take hours, but some familiar names include Ed Helms, Rob Hubel, Jessica St. Clair, Jason Mantzoukas, Nick Kroll, Aubrey Plaza, and Ben Schwartz. To name but a few. So I want to say welcome to the podcast, Brooke and Mary.
Thanks. Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Oh, well, thank you, because I'm thrilled that you guys are here and that you said yes. So I can't wait to get into this conversation of why everyone should take a commercial acting class, because I really, really believe in it. And I think it's even more relevant now that everyone has to be good on camera and to be able to communicate. I've always felt this, but since the pandemic, everyone understands it, whether you're a performer or not, but in any kind of job, whether that's your job interview process or you're communicating with your staff globally. And the skills and insights that you two teach are invaluable. But I also want to acknowledge first that you're both successful business owners, which I think is hugely relevant. And you have a successful, impactful collaboration going back years, which is really special. So I wanted to start there with, did you meet at Liz Lewis? And when did you guys click and say, we're super simpatico and we should be teaching people?
Go ahead, Mary.
We met actually in college. Brooke is a little bit older than me. And people had told me several times when I was in college that I reminded them of Brooke. Someone named Brooke Thomas, who had, we were the same, we were both girls who were in the theater department, but we were also in a sorority, and no one did that there. And we were also, we were definitely did the plays, but we had lives outside of the theater, and I would pick and choose what I wanted to audition for. They would be like, why aren't you auditioning for Romeo and Juliet? And I would be like, I don't want to be in Romeo and Juliet. I don't like Shakespeare, and I don't want to play the nurse. And they would be like, you are so much like Brooke Thomas. I mean, it's crazy. You can't tell us what you're. And then I was in a show and Brooke choreographed it, and I met her, and I think we got along really well then. And then when I was moving into New York City, I was looking for an internship, and it so happened that Brooke worked at Liz Lewis Casting and got me the internship. And Brooke, you want to go on from here?
And then Mary interned at Liz Lewis Casting, and she was assigned to another woman, Robin Todd, and myself to be our assistant. And I just never, I don't know, I'm a do-it-yourself kind of person. I just didn't need an assistant. So Robin Todd just scooped Mary right up, and
you sure did.
Used her as an assistant like nobody else. And Mary and I became fast friends and peers. And, in no time, Mary was like a full-on casting director. And we just had the same sense of humor. We saw the same funny in everything. And it seemed like we had our own language, so to speak. Yeah. So it only made sense that she and I would branch out and do something on our own. We also had this love of actors, both of us. And so many casting directors have that. There are so many that do, but there are so many that don't. And we just really wanted to be the cheerleaders in the room for the actor. And we both had that. So we started our own commercial acting class. We had both been teaching at different places, and I'm not going to name them, but we had both been doing different seminars for different people. And it was just hordes of people in these classes. And we were like, this is just not the way that people are going to get this. So we decided to just start our own.
Yeah.
And
we didn't think it was fair. You'd be sitting there and there'd be 30 people in your class and everyone couldn't get up. And coming from an acting background for both of us, it wasn't fair that these people are paying this money and they're not getting the opportunity to get up, or you're rushed. And, when you'd have the conversation with the people from the studios, they kind of just didn't care, or we would say, hey, can we get an agent to this last class? Some of these people are really great. And they didn't want to pay the $100 for the agent to get there. But these students were paying all this money to take our classes. So we had this conversation and we thought the exact same thing, like, this isn't fair. And Brooke probably was the one who said, well, let's just do it ourselves. And I just kind of said, okay, Brooke.
Do you know what? I had the exact same thing happen to me when I was teaching hosting classes outside, and it was just, it struck me as like butts and chairs. And there were just too many people in the class. But to your point, I didn't feel it was fair to the students who were really talented and came to work hard. And some of my students have gone on to be enormously successful. Sarah Haynes was one of my earliest students there. And I was like,
Great.
Same thing. So that's when I decided, you know what? I'm going to do my own. I'm going to figure out a way to do my own. So I want to start with actually getting, because for people listening who may not know this, what is the essence of commercial acting versus any other type of acting, or what somebody might teach?
I'm going to jump in on this and say that so much of commercial acting is bringing yourself in front of the camera, being you. It sounds so strange, but so the acting classes and actor training is all about studying the character, studying the script, taking on these imaginary circumstances as the character. But commercial acting is really not about that. It's about you being able to honestly speak about a product or something else, but it's being you. And it's so hard and difficult for people to do that and to tap into that. Once you tap into it, though, there's like people who are just like phenomenal commercial actors, and they so easily tap into that part of themselves. And I think it's just a matter of exercising that muscle as an actor, because you've exercised the character muscle for so long, but exercising this, I can just be me talking in front of the camera. Honestly.
Why do you think it's hard for people to tap into that?
Because they've been taught to play a character or acting. So, the people that have the hardest time doing commercial acting are usually the Tony Award winning actors, because they're so well trained, and then they don't know how to get out of their head and be perfect, play the perfect them.
And not to get too psychological about it, but maybe actors are drawn to acting. I mean, I studied acting, so I feel like I can say this. Maybe actors are drawn to taking on somebody else and not really revealing themselves. Maybe they're private about themselves. I don't know.
No, but we talk about that a lot in my space, because there is this whole other vulnerability that when it doesn't go well, or you hear no, or you feel rejected, you were never hiding behind a character. It was, they didn't like you talking about this product. And so there's a huge vulnerability there. But something you said, by the way, years ago in an interview, I read them all, watched interviews that I love, is about honesty. And it's going back to exactly what you're saying, that honesty is the most attractive thing that anybody wants to see on camera. And I just stopped me in my tracks. I love it. I want to put it on a tote bag and a coffee mug. So and then you went on to say, so if you say the line's a little bit off, but what you're talking about comes through and you're being honest, you're going to get a call back. It's not about getting the words perfect at the initial audition. It's about honesty. That is the essence of my methodology, because nobody shows up for your perfect. You show up for your value. And that, and if I can just sidebar again a second, is a misnomer that many people I work with who don't come from performing backgrounds don't understand, that the heart of acting is honesty. Like, when you really do it well, it's about emotional honesty. And that's why we're really moved by a performance. It's actually about speaking the truth. It's not about you're performing, but it's not about being fake or dishonest. So I just want to know if we could talk about that, because this is really the heart of why it is so powerful to take a commercial acting class.
Yeah, it is, and when you see that honesty, and the times that we see it the most when people first start taking a commercial acting class with us is when people mess up on the copy. They mess up on the copy, and and they sometimes try and get themselves out of it, which is always the best, because you see them trying to wiggle themselves out of the mistake that they've made. But that is the best part. And that's when we realize, like, no, that's what we want. We want to see those flubs. We want to see you be human. We want to see you be you. And so bringing improv into our commercial classes too, we did very early on. And that was another thing that people really were drawn to, because they might not say it the way that the copywriter wrote it. And if they added a little bit of their own to it, they could make it their own and make it more comfortable to say as themselves. And then, of course, that got them the callback. And then when they booked the job, they actually, got the copy and memorized it and worked on it and got it that way. But, commercials are so fast and furious. It's just, you just got to get in there and show the director that you can be honest. If you can be honest, I don't know what director doesn't want to work with you.
I love that. Are there techniques that you teach to help people, get there faster or to unlock that?
Well, one of our biggest things, and anybody who's ever taken our class will know it, is who are you talking to? And we like you to talk to, when you're doing a commercial copy or you're talking about Advil, it's just, you pick one person and you just tell them, take Advil, for your sinuses, because it works. That's basically what you're saying. And it's, if you choose one person that you really know, and we always say it shouldn't be another actor or a clown or a musician, because when we're around those people who are, we act with them, we have fun, we goof around. But when we are with just normal people, the just simple people, that's when we are our most honest people and a person. And so if you just pick one person and you do your best to really talk to them, it usually works. And it's really hard for people to do that. Or they'll say, well, I think I was talking to my mom. No, you weren't. You don't think it. You were talking to your mom. Your mom is right there in camera, and your mom is what is she wearing? And where, maybe you can even get backstory. She's in the kitchen. You just have to be able to see it. That's where you can use the acting thing, envisioning where she is in her kitchen and now where she's wearing, and now you just have to talk to her. And that's our biggest philosophy. And it to get you out of your head. We always say, don't do the commercial for your mom, talk to your mom. And actually, we tell them not to talk to their moms a lot of the time, because when you talk to your moms, you get really angry and defensive. Everyone always gets angry and defensive when they're talking to their moms.
Another technique that we use too to help people really talk to that person is we tell them to say their name.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing the commercial copy and you just feel, you can feel when you're just talking to a camera and you're not connecting with that person. And so we tell them, say the person's name, and actors are like, what do you mean? Can I do that in the audition? Yeah, you can do anything you want in the audition until somebody says, please don't do that. Yep. It's your audition, and you're not doing anything egregious. You're just saying the person's name that you're talking to. What's wrong with that? No one can, fault you for trying to connect with the copy. So we'll tell people, throw the person's name in there, throw it in again. If you feel like you're starting to do a commercial, say the person's name that you're talking to. It will immediately bring you to them. And it works.
Okay, not only were those great tips, but that was an enormous permission slip for people, because that comes up all the time. Am I allowed to say that? So that was hugely generous, which circles back to something we were talking about before we hit record, was you two both saying to me that confidence is everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How does it, so obviously having the confidence to, show up and do your best, or take a risk, or, be present and work through your fear, that's huge. But let's talk about confidence. How does that show up for you? How do you help people tap into that or develop that?
We were talking about this before. Confidence, there's confident, everyone's always, confidence is a big word, right? But real confident people are likable people. They are people that you want to be around. They make you better. You want to be in the room with them. And so a confident actor or person, right, coming into the room, you want to surround yourself with that they are, and confidence doesn't just have to do with, I'm confident I can, memorize this copy and say it. It's I'm confident that I'm here. I'm going to show up. I'm confident that I'm going to show up, showing up.
The idea of being confident in yourself and your worth and your right to be there, mm-hmm. and et cetera. So I always talk about that, because confidence is an inside job. It actually comes from within.
Yeah, and confident to know that if you screw up this audition, you can work on it. You can take a class. You can get right back on the horse and do it again. And confidence in knowing that people make mistakes. Confidence in knowing that people fail sometimes. Everything is not always perfect. It's just, it's that kind of, and it's not cocky either. Confidence is not cocky.
Mm-hmm. That's
and
cocky.
So many,
cocky is cocky.
Cocky is cocky. Confidence is not cocky. And so many people will say, I don't want to appear to be too confident because I don't want to come off cocky. No, it's a different thing.
Yeah, we see cocky. Very different thing.
Yeah, I presume, like, to me, that's a defense mechanism. That's that's fear-based. Wait, so now I want to pause one sec because fun sort of casting questions that come up for me is, I love what you just said about, if you screw up, like, go take a class, work on it, keep moving forward. It's not the end of the world. But so how many times may it take, not on a specific project, but when you're seeing someone who's new, how long may it take, before you may actually book someone? I hope this is making sense, because I know people from, like, looking at U5s and doing episodic will say they may see people dozens of times before they feel confident in the consistency of somebody's skill and talent in order to, put them forward because of the demands of being on a set and to know that somebody's going to actually be able to deliver. Is that something that's relevant in the commercial side, or do you guys, somebody could come in, we saw them in Union Square Park and we said, hey, I like the way you look, and you book them?
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't make the final decision on who books the job. We just decide who gets the audition.
Great point.
And I would say that if you are constantly going in the room or getting the audition from a commercial casting director, especially for me, Brooke, and you're constantly, even if you're not getting the call back, but we're still getting the requests for auditions, then we like what you're doing. That's pretty much it. Then that we like what you do, because we don't know why half the time people get callbacks or not. Sometimes you could look at, you're viewing, and it's been mostly self-tapes. We watch them all and we're like, this person nailed it. Oh my God, so great. They're going to love. And then that person doesn't get the callback and you have no idea why. And it's, someone on the other end didn't think they nailed it. But what happened there for us is we think you nailed it. So you're going to get another audition for another project. And that's probably what happens in episodics as well and everything. Doesn't, just because they didn't pick you for the under 5 doesn't mean if you're getting the auditions, then they like you.
Okay, that's a really wonderful message to put out to people, because obviously it's so easy to get discouraged,
Mm-hmm.
but also an important note for people, because the same thing happens, on the unscripted side is, time is money. People are really, really busy. It's an enormous volume. So nobody's stopping to go, hey, Barbara, let's walk you through why we made the choices that we made. And I think that is sometimes lost on both the talent, even their agents, surprisingly enough, but just the sort of, or civilians, if you will, that don't get what it's like. Nobody's telling me, I'm just a part of the process. And I think that that's an important note to remember.
Mm-hmm.
See the yes, I guess, is another way to look at it. It's like, if we're bringing you in, that's the yes. Hold on to that. Can we talk about self-tapes for a sec? Because the business has changed so much since we all got into it years ago. So, I know the answer because we talked about it before, but it's like, yes, no, self-taping is good, bad. Any tips about that?
Look, we know that's the elephant in the room and the self-tape thing. So many people are upset about it, but then some people are love it. I mean, I personally, I love it. I feel like I can see more people. I watch every single person's audition. I feel like a lot of their auditions are freer. People I think they're doing better things than they would do in the room. They're giving them, and, when I give out directions, I definitely tell people, to make it their own and to, this is their time. And I feel like I've been very, very impressed with how people have been really kind of taking my direction on paper. And then we'll give a note if we need to give a note. Back after. However, we've been doing some callbacks back in the studio, and that's lovely as well. But I think the biggest thing for self tapes is I feel like you get more opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And before, even if you booked another job, and you get a callback for, let's say you're in a Coke commercial and you get a callback for a Pantene, we've done it where you're on set and during your lunch break, we bring you right into that Zoom callback, and people have booked the jobs. So it's more opportunity. Or maybe you're at your bank job, or maybe you had to go home to a funeral and you're at home, and, all that kind of stuff. We have more people making the callbacks now than before. And I think that's important.
Yeah, it's also opened up the doors in terms of seeing new people.
Mm-hmm.
I see so many new people that I never would have been able to get all of these people into the studio. I just wouldn't do it. They won't pay me enough days for a job to see that many people in a day. So I've been able to see so much new talent, and I think it's refreshing. I think producers and directors and agencies are loving it, all the options they're getting. Yeah, I just think I think it's a win-win for everybody. I mean, the only downside I think for actors is that they're not getting redirection right in the studio. I understand that can be probably frustrating for actors to not have that back and forth. And I miss that too. I really loved that. I love actors. I love being in the studio with them. I felt like they were my friends coming in and we were having fun in the studio. So I miss that. But I think that's the only con that I can see. I think everything else are pros, but maybe I'm missing something, but that's what I think.
Is there something that everyone should master in that, that's consistent for a good self-tape? Because I think there's a lot more, there are more protocols in acting than in lifestyle programming. As an example, it's like in lifestyle, it's like, if you're doing makeup, it's okay, do the makeup in your, bathroom, or if you're cooking, go shoot it in your kitchen, and it doesn't have to look one specific way. But I was just curious, are there things that, consistent, you're like, that is what makes for a good self-tape?
I mean, it's just the standard things, lighting, background, sound. I think those are really important, if we can't see you or hear you. And it also looks really professional when someone shows up and they have a nice lighting and a good background and they look great. It looks professional. When they're, in a dark room with like noise and you can't barely hear them, it's not as fun to watch.
No, that's fair enough. And by the way, just like anybody else, because I do Zoom interviews myself and I go on podcasts, it's like I just travel with lights now. And it's gotten easier and easier. So I can put links in the, I don't know if you have any recommendations, but like I love my Lumi cubes and my teeny tiny ring lights to go. So I can put suggestions in the show notes. I didn't know if you had any products you're like, oh, those are the best. Now going just back to commercial acting in general, and it relates to also what you're teaching. What are the opportunities now? I mean, are there trends, or you're seeing like, it's a great time for this, whatever that is?
The Super Bowl still pops up.
It is.
The Super Bowl is still a big thing.
Yeah.
I would say that the only other trend, like not necessarily well, I guess it's not like in what is being produced, but there's an even amount of non-union and union work.
Okay.
I think that actually there might be even more non-union work than there is union work. And that's definitely something that the pendulum has swung since I started casting. When I started casting, everything was SAG, and it would be like once in a blue moon you'd get a non-union job. And when we were doing that, it was like, okay, my gosh, who's going to work on the non-union job? Because we just didn't know how to do that. And now I feel like the pendulum has swung the other way, and in my opinion, there's more non-union work than there is union work. Of course, everybody wants the SAG job. It's just, it pays well. It's the union. It's, you've got all those benefits. But I will say the non-union world has stepped up their game in terms of what they're paying talent and the contracts that they have. And there's in my experience, I won't work with, anybody that I just off the street who's a non-union job. It has to be vetted. And, so there's no issues with people getting paid anymore. People are getting paid, things are following through. So a lot of non-union jobs are on the up and up. And so that's probably a trend that I see that has occurred over the past, I don't know, 5-7 years.
How does somebody break in? Besides taking your class?
It's definitely usually by, going on, taking classes, getting an education, knowledge is power, obviously. And then learning from those classes, like, they'll tell you, I know Brooke in our class, we tell you where to go next, what go to casting networks, go to Breakdown Services, get your resume out there. Here are some agents you should be targeting, but also do your research on other ones. There are great schools out there that you can meet people. I think you have to pay money to meet, an agent or whatever, but do your research. Some of them are very legit and some of them aren't. So you can Google anything and find out reviews on things and figure it out. And because there are a lot of classes out there that, as just are, Joe Schmo is running it. And he says he, was on Law and Order this, but he never really was, or, there's so much out there that people are just taking their money. So just, research, basically.
We always say, like, ask your friends for referrals too. If your actor friends have representation, ask them if they make an introduction to their agent for you. I mean, you got to ask, what's the worst that's going to happen? Again, you're going to hear no. Big deal. If you don't ask, you're never going to know.
Finally, I actually want to spend a second talking about branded content so we can explain what that is. But that's another area that really dovetails with my universe, because you'll find subject experts getting cast for branded content and campaigns, whether they're consumer facing or, industrial. And then this whole burgeoning, and Brooke, you mentioned you've done some of these, internal for huge companies that, have their own podcasts and have their own amazing networks and speaking programs and all sorts of things for their tens of thousands of global employees. And it's staggering and it pays well. And I just want to talk about that for a second, because that to me would be an area that didn't exist before, that came around, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. But how does it impact your business? Any tips for people who have no idea that it exists and might find opportunity there?
In terms of the way that I look at it, to me, it's just another kind of commercial job.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really differentiate between a commercial or something like that. I'm bringing in the same people are interested in doing the job. It's a day's work, whether it's going to just, air internally in one of these branded places, or it's going to air broadcast. It doesn't matter. And payment obviously is different, but it doesn't matter to the talent right now. They're looking to work. Actors are looking to work. So I don't see a big difference.
I guess on my side, I asked because on the host and expert side, a lot of people don't realize these things come through the commercial side as opposed to the host or broadcast side. So it's significant. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this episode with you, to understand it's like, to create more opportunity, let commercial casting directors know that you exist, get to know people at advertising agencies, because if I'm a big brand and some of these brands pay for television shows, and the audience doesn't understand that that's actually a branded show. I remember, and things around innovation. So there's external and there's internal, and then they do campaigns. And I talk and my eyes were really opened years ago when a couple of people that I bring in all the time for, Discovery and History Channel projects and those kind of, fabulous dudes suddenly got hired to ride John Deere tractor lawnmowers across the country. It was a really funny, to me, that's a reality show. It was, right? But it was a branded campaign for John Deere, and it came through a commercial casting director. And I was like, why didn't I get to cast that? Oh my gosh. This is because brands deal with who they know. And who do they know? The advertising agents and the commercial casting directors.
Did I cast that?
Did you?
I'm jealous. Think I might have.
See?
Yeah. And that's another thing. The director we've worked with, that's the best sometimes when, especially on a Zoom, when, you're at the callback and, the kid, the director they see his name and they're like, who do we just, and they're like, it's a famous, comedy director. And they're like, they don't know, because they don't know who's directing until they show up and they're like, oh, well, hi there, Wes Anderson, or hi there, Peter Farrelly, or, and then they're like, you see them kind of like, okay, thanks, Peter. As they're leaving. And that's fun because we work with a lot of directors who direct, especially the comedy stuff. They want, commercials. They do commercials.
Spike Lee has done tons.
Yes, tons.
It's lucrative.
It's also amazingly creative and also innovative. Like, I've really come to learn how much in terms of camera work, sound, trends by how we do storytelling emerge out of producing commercials, because, and I don't know exactly why, but somewhere in there's a lot more room for experimentation commercials always got a bad rap when I was a kid. I'm like, commercials are fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're fun.
Do you have any all-time favorites that you've worked on or wish you'd worked on?
I really love the insurance commercials right now where the kids are, don't want to be their parents. I
Yeah, they're
roar
great.
with laughter. I just can't get enough of those commercials. And I think they're cast by Arnold out of Boston, and they're just amazing.
They're so
just
funny.
they're my humor. They're just my humor. So
Yeah.
I always go for the funny. I love the funny commercials.
And we cast, well, you were the head casting director on the Can You Hear Me Now campaign.
That's right. I
which was a
did
long
work
time
on
ago.
that. Yep.
So we were at Liz Lewis when that was happening.
Yep.
That was kind of big.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
But that's a cultural touchstone because we still all say it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys are fantastic. And I know you both have to go, busy. I interrupted casting sessions for this. So thank you. Any parting thoughts?
No, I just feel like, the majority of casting directors out there, commercial, love actors, and we just want to see you succeed. Like, there's nothing better than watching auditions and seeing people's talent. Brooke and I both coming from acting backgrounds and kind of getting out of it. I mean, I got out of it because I just wanted stability. So I'm always in awe of actors who stayed with it and stick with it. And we love to see them succeed. Like, I love when someone books a job and telling the agent, I wish more times we could tell them that they booked it, because you've kind of changed somebody's, life a little bit. They're going to make some money. They're going to be on TV. The people in their hometowns are going to say, I saw you in that Verizon commercial. These are fun things for people. So I guess just stick with it. And I don't think people poo-poo commercials as much as they used to anymore.
No, I think there's no way.
They're very lucrative.
I was going to say, I wish I had anything that recommended me to be in commercials because I'd be so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just say that I think everybody should just strive to have fun. If it's not fun, you shouldn't be doing it. My job is fun. I love doing my job, and so I do a good job. If you're having fun doing commercials and you're enjoying it, it's only going to be good. So if you're not having fun, find the fun or find something else, because if it becomes grueling, you should not be doing it.
Oh, amen to that. Thank you two so much. And I know you both have to get back to work, but so thank you. And thank you for listening to this episode of Camera Ready and Able. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a 5-star review because it's much appreciated and it helps a lot. And if you're interested in media training or help with career strategies, please shoot me a note via my website, ableintermedia.com, and be sure to download my free ebook, 12 Tips for Success on Camera.